Konnichiwa, hello from London. Yes, it's time for another monthly Japanese update. I started learning the language over 15 months ago now, and last month I started speaking seriously for the first time. In a moment I want to give you a sample of that and to explain what was going on and why it's taken me so long to start speaking. First of all, though, if you're new here, welcome. I'm Dr. Gareth Popkins. Here we talk about language learning from many angles. My own projects, yes, but also we look at tips and reviews. We've got interviews with other inspiring language learners and language experts, and a bit of vlogging with a language theme usually too. So if you haven't yet subscribed for the vibe, please do. And you can get my free Language Learner Pro training by following the link underneath this video. Now, before we launch into the clip with me in action, I just wanted to bring you up to date with my language log. Since I got back from my first visit to Japan last autumn, which was the original spur which got me started learning Japanese at the beginning of 2019, I've been trying to do a regular 30 minutes a day, a focused study slot. That's the way I like to organise all my language learning, really, particularly in the early stages. And I've been trying to do that for at least 5 days a week. And in July, because this is a belated July catch-up, believe it or not, I managed to do 19 hours in total over 26 days. So I missed 5 days in the month, so that was good going. And that would have averaged out at 44 minutes a day. I think most days I made the 30-minute target. Occasionally I overshot that quite considerably. There may have been some days when I was slightly under too. はじめまして。ガレスと申します。イギリス人です。生まれも育ちもヨークです。ロンドンに住んでいます。53歳です。弁護士です。趣味は言語を学ぶこととビデオを作ることと庭の手入れをすることです。じゃあまたね。So as you probably worked out from the subtitles, that's a brief self-introduction in Japanese. Now, I was doing this as part of my friend John Fotheringham's Japanese Conversation Accelerator program, which he ran in July. And I want to tell you a bit about what we were doing in each of the 4 weeks of that program, because I think it's something you could do yourself independently quite usefully to get you speaking. The first week then was working on a self-introduction, and that's something which you're really going to need when you're beginning the language and something you're going to use over and over again at the beginning of so many conversations. So our week 1 task was simply to prepare a brief self-introduction. Mine was, 7 or 8 lines long. To book a one-to-one session with a teacher on italki.com. which is the platform I generally use to find my language teachers, and to have the teacher during the lesson correct the script and to record it for us and send us the recording after the lesson, and then practice with the recording and make our own recording and share it with the group there was a closed Facebook group, and mine was the recording that you just heard. In the second week, we were to try and find another teacher to provide a bit of variety, the interplay of different personalities, different accents and so on, and to stay in Japanese for at least 5 minutes practicing our self-introduction. And John also prepped us with lists of typical fillers, things like okay, well, really, how interesting, that sort of thing, things you say to oil the conversation, and also a list of what I always call toolkit phrases. That's to say phrases in Japanese to help us tune the wheels, as it were, keep moving without switching back to English. So phrases like, could you speak more slowly, please? I don't understand, please can you repeat? Or what does X mean in English? That sort of thing. In week 3, we really did the same, but this time instead of trying to stay in Japanese for 5 minutes, it was going to be 2 10-minute conversations. And we were also encouraged to talk about our family and our hobbies. And John gave us cheat sheets again of vocabulary and phrases in those subject areas, and also questions so that we could ask teachers. Again, I found 2 more teachers about those topics, about their hobbies and their family. And then in the final week, we were to have 3 10-minute conversations. Once again, practicing the self-introduction. You could use your hobby and your family spiel and your questions yet again. Repetition of these basic things is so important, of course. Fluency comes through a lot of repetition, doesn't it? A lot of practice and a lot of good feedback. So we were going to be doing that for the 3 sessions in the 4th week, but also to take a new topic for each of the 3 sessions. So I talked a little bit about gardening, one of my hobbies, about language learning, and then finally with the final teacher, I talked about the COVID situation a little bit. And again, I worked up some questions, some prompting phrases before the lessons. Preparation for the lesson in this way means you get so much more out of it. I could also, I suppose, have worked with the teachers using a Google Doc if I'd written down the phrases, although I didn't do that. And that might be something I'll go back to, repeating these topics with different teachers in the future. So that's how I finally got speaking Japanese. Now, I just want to say that when I started learning Basque, the last language I seriously launched myself into, I'm now at an intermediate level, I started speaking very, very early on in the process. With Japanese, I've gone back to the old method I used to use when I was using Welsh, German and Russian, which has really been to build up a core vocabulary of phrases and words using flashcarding a lot, and to get the basic grammar patterns, the sort of structural scaffolding of the language into my head before I've really done much speaking. But also doing a lot of listening from very early on, both for the pronunciation initially, the sound and rhythm of the language, but then also to start to tune my ear into the language. And I could well have gone on in this way for another couple of months if I had not had a bit of a push from John to get speaking. In my case, I think that would have been all right, because I wasn't avoiding speaking as a form of procrastination. I'm used to going through that discomfort, that awkwardness of starting to speak. But for you, it might be different. If you're the sort of person who, for motivational reasons, wants to get talking as quickly as possible, as soon as possible, you should definitely do so, and you could use some of these techniques. And also, if you're the sort of person who's actually putting off speaking because you're reluctant to push through that discomfort, you should also get speaking too, I think. I was very glad I did. It certainly has added a bit of variety to my Japanese, and hey, it seems to work, even if at quite a basic level. And actually, I kept going in all the sessions, apart from the first one, for nearly 30 minutes with a teacher in my basic telegraphic Japanese. So that's where I was in July and what I've continued to do in John's new program now in August. But I'll do another catch-up video pretty soon telling you how things have gone on into August. So do that in early September here on the channel. There's lots more content coming up, so do as they say, stay tuned. As always, I'd love to hear about your experiences learning Japanese, what you think about, how I've handled it with when you start speaking, the sort of techniques used to organise lessons in the month of July using that accelerator program, whether you think that might work for you or what you're doing. Do let me know in the comments below. As always, thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget, if you haven't done already, to subscribe for the vibe, think about a thumbs up, tickle that bell, and share the affair. Mata ne!